Sayyidah Zainab and the rest of the caravan, including Imam Zain al-Abidin, entered the palace of Ibn Ziyad, he was laughing, and he had the head of Imam Hussain in front of him.
Even though Salamullah alayhi, Zainab was trying to keep the eyes of the men away from her, and the daughters of Al-Husain and the daughters of the Prophet, Ibn Ziyad recognized something about her. He saw that Zainab had all the attention of the family of the Prophet around her. And he continued to insult the Imam, and Zainab continued to say back to him the truth.
But he was not expecting a completely different answer from Sayyidah Zainab. He was probably expecting her to burst into tears and act emotionally. But he saw that, no, Sayyidah Zainab had the courage. She was more courageous than certain men.
And Ibn Ziyad, while he awaits to receive a reply, after a few days, gets the message that Yazid has said, send me the heads and send me the family of the Prophet to me.
So he said, I went to that gate, and indeed from a distance I saw the caravan of Abi Abdullah al-Husain coming, and I saw Imam al-Sajjad bleeding to the extent his shirt became red from the neck and the blood of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. And I saw the heads being carried.
In one story, then an old man, they say that an old man from the people of Damascus with a long white beard, he came and he stood and he started cursing at Imam Zain al-Abidin because he was the only man.
Alhamdulillah that you have been defeated. Allah has granted Al-Amir Yazid power over you.
Do you know who I am? Have you read the Holy Quran? He said, yes, of course, I'm a Muslim.
Have you come across the verse, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى?
Allah is talking about us. We are the household of the Holy Prophet.
We are the ones who now you are trying to say that, the Yazid is defeated and Allah has granted victory. We are the household of purification. Have you heard the verse, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. This is about us. The first role of Zainab Salamullah alayha here is to inform people exact details. You look at the knowledge of Sayyidah Zainab, you look at the courage of Sayyidah Zainab, you look at the eloquence of Sayyidah Zainab, you look at the analysis of Sayyidah Zainab. Wallah, this is something that Allah had agreed with your grandfather the Prophet, that we face trouble, we face tragedy in order to serve Islam. Wallah, Allah will give power to people on this earth who will build graves over them, who will mark them one by one, who will tell people what they had done, and who will bring a generation of people who year after year will commemorate Al-Husain, and who will make this place a visiting place. Wallah, our story, this event, this tragedy of Karbala will never be forgotten. Do not worry, O my nephew, the story of Al-Husain, the message of Al-Husain will carry.
When the caravan entered the court of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, of course he was celebrating. They brought the head of Imam al-Husain alayhi salam in front of him, and he started beating the head of Imam al-Husain alayhi salam with a stick that he had.
And Yazid, one of the words he says is, today, and he recites some poetry, he says, today I have reclaimed the debt from the Prophet. The Prophet, when he killed our fathers in Battle of Badr, he took something from us. Today I have taken it back from him.
Yazid was a young, ignorant, arrogant, egocentric sort of person.
He wasn't just uh, a murderer and a dictator. Yazid had psychological issues. Yazid had an inferiority complex. He was raised with the thought that Rasulullah fought his family. Rasulullah fought Bani Umayyah. He killed his grandfather, his uncle, so on and so forth.
دع المساجد للعباد تسكنها وقف على دكة الخمار واسقينا ما قال ربك ويل للشاربين بل قال ويل للمصلين. He said, leave the mosques, the masajid, to those naive people who inhabit them and go pray in them. But we, the aristocrats, the higher class, are the drunkards one. We go to the quote-unquote pub and continue drinking and drinking. And that's what we do. So you can imagine this person in his poetry is displaying that he is not related to Islam.
So at various times, Yazid would take the opportunity to insult the Ahlulbayt, to confuse some of those who were not sure what had happened in Karbala exactly, and to try to defend his actions while Imam Zain al-Abidin and Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam were there trying to prove to people that Yazid was actually fighting Islam itself.
That's why when he saw the heads of Bani Hashim, Imam Hussain and his companions, they came in, he said, Layta ash-shakhi bi-badrin shahidu. I wish that my forefathers at Badr who were killed at Badr, I wish they were here today to see this sight.
That I've sought revenge from the Prophet. Now I feel happy. I'm rejoicing.
And at this instance, of course, no one had said anything. And this is where we see the bravery of Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayhi. She could not let this pass. Yazid was saying, I had wished my masters in Badr seen what I had done. They would have been pleased with my actions. Zainab showed extreme bravery here. Enough. I'm not going to allow you to make a mockery of what has happened. You think by saying a few lines of poetry you're going to confuse the situation? No, Allah, I'm going to tell people exactly who you are and what you have done. I'm a woman, yes, but I will speak the truth. And she rises and everybody quietens down and she starts her famous speech which we recite in her ziyarah until today.
She said, Yazid, lift your hands from the heads and the lips of Abi Abdullah al-Husain.
How dare you hit the lips of Abu Abdullah? Now in a place where this man, he's in his capital city, he's on his throne, he's in his palace, he's surrounded by his courtiers and his guards, yet Zainab challenges him and says, how dare you do that action?
Ya Yazid, do you think that Allah, by enabling you to kill my brother Abi Abdullah al-Husain, that he has favored you over my brother Abi Abdullah al-Husain? No. By God, haven't you read his book where he says those tyrants, those oppressors should not be rejoicing and thinking that God is favoring them when God blesses them with his blessings, but rather God wants to test them such that they use these blessings to increase in their tyranny and oppression, and a very severe punishment awaits them in the hereafter.
You are descended from those whose mouths chewed the livers of the purified ones and whose flesh grows out of the blood of the martyrs. He says, what can we expect? Your grandmother chewed the liver of Hamza. So what do we expect from you? That you're going to treat us nicely or that you're going to treat us in an Islamic manner? After Hamza was killed, what did your grandmother do? In a cowardly way, she came and defaced his body and took out his liver and started to chew on it. What can we expect? This is the kind of behavior that we expect from you and your family.
So ya Yazid, kid كيدك واسع سعيك وناصب جهدك فوالله لن تمحو ذكرنا ولا تميت وحينا. Ya Yazid, do whatever it is in your ability to do. I swear by God, you will not stop people from remembering us, nor will you stop the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from propagating. Indeed, aren't your days but numbered, and your men are but worthless, weak people in front of the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Look at the words of Zainab. She's praying against him, in front of all his men. By Allah, you have only burnt your own skin. You have only cut your own flesh. Because you're supposed to be a Khalifa, yet you are killing the master of the youth of paradise. You're supposed to be fighting for Islam. You are fighting Islam itself. So all you're doing is inflicting wounds on yourself. You are sending yourself to hellfire.
And you will be the loser one on the day when my grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be the judge in front, and you will be his enemy on the day of judgment.
Being granted martyrdom is a gift from Allah, is a blessing from Allah. So she's not saying that we are upset that we gave the shuhada. What did she do in Karbala? She took the body of Abi Abdullah salamullah alayhi, and she said, Allahumma taqabbal minna hadha al-Qur'an. Accept this sacrifice from us. We willingly give you this sacrifice. So she says to Yazid that we are thankful that we have the blessing of martyrdom. This is what is meant for us, Ahlulbayt, to give martyrdom willingly. So we're not upset that Al-Husain has been killed because he was, meaning his body means so much to us. Rather, we wish Allah to accept this sacrifice. We wish Allah to bless us with such martyrdoms and giving for the sake of Allah.
So she delivered that powerful sermon right there in front of this arrogant, tyrannic caliph who no men dared to speak in front of him. Yet Zainab alayhi salam delivered that speech.
So the Imam and Sayyidah Zainab's role at this point is to maximize the amount of information that they can get out. Because where else were they able to get so many people assembled in one place who were then able to spread the word? So really the aim of the Imams and Sayyidah Zainab isn't a matter of just getting people to cry and grieve and be upset at what had happened. Rather, it's for them to know exactly what had been done. Because Yazid had told Sham that this is a day of Eid, that we have defeated rebels, we have defeated foreigners. And now Imam Zain al-Abidin has to turn the situation around and say, actually, in case you people don't know, this is who we are, and this is what has happened, and this is what Yazid has done.
Imam al-Sajjad told Yazid, give me the permission to go on the pulpit so I can speak and admonish people with words that will be of pleasure to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and of benefit to these people.
Yazid refuses. He says, no, I will not allow you. The Imam again pushes him. His son, Yazid's son, Muawiyah II, and a few others of those around him said, let him speak, what harm can it do?
He initially hesitated and resisted, but upon the pressure of the people, he gave permission to Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, after telling people that if this man goes on the pulpit, he will not come down except by my exposure and the exposure of all of the children of Abu Sufyan.
And one of the greatest instances of oratory and skill and also beautiful wording in the history of the Arabs is this speech of Imam Zain al-Abidin, which we will listen to because it had a profound effect. Till this day, the people of Sham mourn Imam Hussain, and the people of Masr mourn Imam Hussain, and the people of other lands in the Middle East, they mourn Imam Hussain. Part of it is due to this speech, the effect of the power of Imam Zain al-Abidin's words.
أيها الناس أعطينا ستا وفضلنا بسبع.
O people, we were granted 6 things and favored with 7.
أعطينا العلم والحلم والسماح.
We were granted knowledge, clemency, leniency, fluency, courage, and love for us in the hearts of the believers.
والمحبة في قلوب المؤمنين.
And we were favored by the fact that from among us came a prophet, a Siddiq, a Tayyar, a lion of Allah and of His Prophet, and both masters of the youth of paradise from among this nation.
ومنا سبطا هذه الأمة.
O people, whoever recognizes me knows me, and whoever does not recognize me, let me tell him who I am and to what family I belong.
من عرفني فقد عرفني. ومن
O
لم
people,
يعرفني.
I am the son of Mecca and Mina. I am the son of Zamzam and Safa.
أنا ابن زمزم
I am the son of the one who carried the rock on his mantle. I am the son of the best man who ever put on clothes and whoever made tawaf and sa'i, of whoever offered the hajj and pronounced the
أنا
talbiyah.
ابن خير من طاف وسعى.
I am the son of the one who was transported on the Buraq and who was taken by Gabriel to the Sidrat al-Muntaha, so he was near his Lord. like the throw of a ball, or closer still.
أنا ابن من صلى بملائكة
I am the
السماء
son of the one who led the angels of the heavens in the prayers.
من أوحى إليه الجليل
I am the son to whom the Mighty One revealed what he revealed.
وقاتل ببدر وحنين
I am the son of the one who defended the Messenger of Allah at Badr and Hunain and never disbelieved in Allah, not even as much as the twinkling of an eye.
ابن صالح المؤمن
I am the son of the best of the believers and of the heir of the Prophet, of the leader of the Muslim and the nur of those who are offered jihad and the killer of the negated and those who deviate from the straight path and who scattered the Ahzab and the most courageous one, the one with the finest determination. Such is the father of the grandsons of the Prophet Al-Hasan and Al-Husain.
وأبو
Such
الصفين
is Ali
الحسن
ibn Abi
والحسين
Talib.
ذاك جدي علي بن أبي طالب
I am the son of Fatima al-Zahra,
سيدة
the head of
النساء
all women,
فاطمة
the son of Khadijah al-Kubra. I am the son of the one whose blood with sand mixed. I am the son of the one who was slaughtered in Karbala.
أنا ابن
I am the
المقتول
son of the one whom the jinns wept in the dark and for whom the bird in the air cried.
Yazid had looked around and saw the people in commotion. Some of them were stern men, they were crying. Some of them were astounded, some of them had open mouths and eyes. They could not believe, is this man really telling the truth? Is he really the grandson of the Prophet? Can Yazid really have killed his family? Are they really being brought in as prisoners in chains? So Yazid was uncomfortable with this situation. Imam had not said a single bad word about Yazid in this instance. He didn't say Yazid is so and so and so. So Yazid could not attack him. But the Imam had only spoken the truth. He had only said, I am so and so, I am so and so, I am so and so. So Yazid could not stop this. He needed a way out. So he turned to one of the men who was of weak religion, whose only job was to serve Yazid. And he says to him, "O you, announce the time for prayer." The Mu'adhin rose up on the member and shouted at the top of his voice. And the Imam said, "Yes, Allah is the greatest, there is no greater than Him. I affirm this." Then the Mu'adhin cried out again, at the top of his voice, and the Imam says, "Yes, my body, my soul, my heart, my hair, my tongue, everything testifies that there is no God but Allah." And then the Mu'adhin carries on and he cries out, and the Imam says, "Wait here, give me a second, if there is any mercy in your heart." He turns to Yazid and says, "Ya Yazid, the Mu'adhin, your Mu'adhin is crying out, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I ask you, is Muhammad your grandfather or my grandfather? If he is your grandfather, the people around you will know that you are lying. And if he is my grandfather, how will you respond to him? Do you think he will be happy at what you have done to us, at what you have done to his family? O Yazid, what crimes have you committed against Muhammad that now you are praising him?"
And people burst into tears upon listening to him. And when he came down from the minbar, people started kissing his arms and his feet and apologizing. "We did not know who you are, Ya ibn Rasulullah. Forgive us for this."
Even people who were not supporters of the Ahlulbayt, people who were not even Muslim, they broke out in tears at the words of Imam Zainab. Yazid feared the worst. He had expected this to be a day of Eid, of celebration. It turned into a day of mourning for the Ahlulbayt. And so he ordered the prayers to be carried out as soon as possible, lest the people turn on him.
And this was the reason why Yazid gave them the permission to go back to Medina. Because Yazid, after all, he didn't want any member of the family of Imam Hussain to stay alive. Why did he leave them? Because he suddenly saw everything starting to turn against him.
Yazid realized the danger of the situation and ordered the immediate removal of the captives from the court. They were taken to a place called the Khariba.
A khariba means a place that's worn out, that's probably a very worn out tent, that doesn't have any services.
It lied on the outskirts of Sham, and there it used to be part of which there was a market that had burned down. So it wasn't even inhabitable. People did not live there.
They've mentioned that one of Imam Hussein's small children, who happened to be Ruqayya, she was so small that they've mentioned she didn't really know what had happened, what took place. Where did Imam Hussain go, her father? How come she's not with them?
Ruqayya salamullahi alayha was 3 years old, and they say that she was very, very attached to Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
She woke up in the middle of the night asking her aunt Zainab salamullahi alayha about her father Abi Abdullah al-Husayn. Zainab alayhi salam told her that he's gone in a long journey. Ruqayya was not aware that her father had been killed in Karbala yet.
She was constantly asking her aunt, "Where is my father? I would like to see my father." She took the initiative and went to one of the guards and said, "I want to see my father. Bring me my father." The guards passed on the message.
Yazid, when he heard about this, he said, "What is the matter? What's going on in the camp of Abi Abdullah al-Husayn?" They told him that this little girl of Abi Abdullah al-Husayn just woke up and she's crying, wanting her father. So he said, "Put the head of her father in a plate and take it to her."
Sayyidah Ruqayya, they put the basket in front of her. Now imagine she has no clue what has happened to her father. They kept on telling her he's on a journey, he's traveling. They put this basket in front of her and they told her, "What you want is in this basket." She said, "I didn't ask for food. I'm not hungry. What I want is my father. I want my father to come back to me."
She turned to her aunt Zainab and said, "My aunt Zainab, I'm not hungry. I don't want food. I want my father, Abi Abdullah al-Husayn." Zainab alayhi salam said, "Remove the head. Remove the cover." She removed the cover and all of a sudden she sees the head of her father alayhi salam.
جابوا وشافتهم من بعيد وصاحت هلا براسك يا العميد يا ليل عزنب ليلة العيد. When she raised the basket, when she raised the top of the basket, she saw the head. She had no clue that he was dead. No one had told her, no one had even warned her that her father is dead. All of a sudden she sees the head covered, his beard, his head, his face, his forehead covered with blood and dust. At the moment she didn't say anything, not even showing her shock. She just raised the head and she hugged the head.
أبا من الذي أيتمني على صغر سني.
Aywa abata wa Husayna. Oh father, who beheaded you? Who did this to you? Who's gonna take care of me after you? And she had unconditional love to her father. She had some extraordinary love to her father.
At the age of 3, just at the age of 3, seeing the head of her father cut off. Sayyidah Zainab heard her saying, whispering to the head, not allowing others to hear, whispering to the head, أبتاه من الذي قطع الرأس الشريف أبتاه من الذي خضب الشيب العفيف. My father, who would dare do something like this to you? Who would drench your beard in your noble blood?
And this is shown when she did not survive after learning that her father had been killed. And when she sees the head of her father, she did not live. She immediately died. She went into silence right there on the head of her father.
After moments later, when they tried to take the head from her lap, they thought that she fell asleep because she stopped crying. When they tried to take the head away from her, they saw that she was no longer moving, she was no longer breathing. And they realized that Ruqayya had joined her father in the next life.
العقيلة تجول بخاطري ودمعي يسيلة حراير كربلاء حزن الفواطم تدور بضاميري دور المآتم نوايب كربلاء صرخة يتيمة ترن بموجتي بلحن الهضيمة.
So her story is true, a story of grief. And now she has a beautiful shrine in Sham where millions of people go to visit her and ask for their hajat from her shrine.
And so Yazid, instead of celebrating his victory, was now trying to find a way out. And so after a few days, he sent for Imam Zain al-Abidin and he said, we have decided that you are to be released and you are to be treated well and you are to return to your home in Medina.
So as a tactic, as a political strategic tactic, he decided to send this family away from Sham and not keep them here any longer. And to show the people as a propaganda that, you know what, we're not going to harm those people, he did not chain them, but rather he made them, comfortably go back to basically Medina.
So they went to Medina through the city of Karbala.
After all that the enemies had done to them, finally the Imam had reattached the heads to the bodies, and this was the correct way in which the shuhada should be buried, in which a Muslim should be buried, in which a human should be buried. And the Imam says, we spent 3 days. I was cooking for the women, I took care of the women and children, while they were mourning and grieving. After the 3 days, and this was during the time of the 20th of Safar, the day of the arrival of Imam Hussain. This was during the days of which the Arba'een is commemorated. 40 days after the martyrdom of Imam al-Husain, the skies wept for Imam al-Husain for 40 days, the angels cried for Imam al-Husain for 40 days. The mourning period for Imam al-Husain, though all the year is dedicated to the mourning of Imam Hussain, but these 40 years and these 40 days, and especially the 40th day itself, is a dedicated time for the mourning of Abi Abdullah al-Husain.
Victory came for Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Physically, he lost on the day of Ashura. Physically, he was killed. But his message lived on. Where's Yazid now? And where's Hussein now? Millions of people go and visit Imam Hussein. They chant in his name.
And when we see the ziyarah today, when we see the people walking in the millions towards Abi Abdullah, it is because they are following in the footsteps of Zain al-Abidin salamullahi alayhi, following in the footsteps of Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha, following in the footsteps of Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, who were the first people to visit Imam Hussein in the ziyarah. And Imam Al-Hasan al-Askari, our 11th holy Imam salamullahi alayhi, says the signs of the believers are 5. It's a beautiful hadith. In there he mentions the various signs. One of the signs he says was ziyarat al-arba'in. And the sign of a believer is the one who does the ziyarah of arba'in, not reads the ziyarah and only remembers the Imam, but actually understands what the ziyarah means. Reads the words and truly believes in them. Reads the words and understands who Imam al-Husain is. Not just the third Imam, but what his position in Islam is.
Imam al-Husain alayhi salam, when he rose in the revolution, he said, إنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وآمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. I am rising to seek restoration of the nation of my grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the state that he brought the religion, the way that Rasulullah brought it, not the deviation that I'm seeing and the corruption that I'm seeing around. I want to restore this nation back unto these principles and to do amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, to enjoin good and forbid evil. So we have to first start from within ourselves. We need to watch our salat prayers like Imam al-Husain prayed on the day of Ashura with his companions. They did not delay their salat. We need to watch our respect of elders, family members. Let's learn from Ali al-Akbar how he spoke kindly, compassionately with his father, Abi Abdullah al-Husain.
If we can learn anything, is that no matter how much trouble you go through, it's worth it. At the end of the day, it's worth it. As long as you're sincere, you have a message, you have a point, and it's all for the sake of Allah. As long as Allah is on your side, no matter who's against you, you will win at the end of the day. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن تنصروا الله ينصركم ويثبت أقدامكم. If you support Allah, Allah will have your back, even if the entire world is against you. But as long as a person sticks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will stick with him. This is what we learn from this story. And Allah was with the Ahlulbayt.
And so with the arrival of the family of the Prophet in Medina, we see the completion of the revolution of Al-Husain. Because after those days, after those tragic days, it's only a few months of tragedy, but then 1400 years of remembrance, 1400 years of mourning, 1400 years of revolutions, 1400 years of people following Islam in the correct manner. Were it not for Al-Husain and Zainab salamullahi alayha, none of us would know what Salah is. None of us would know what Hajj is. None of us would understand what Shahr Ramadan is. None of us would be able to stand and say, I'm a Muslim, or I'm a mu'min, or I'm a believer. All of us would be followers of Yazid, followers of Muawiyah, followers of Abdul Malik bin Marwan. Maybe we would be Muslims, maybe we would not. We would have maybe 5,000 sects, maybe 10,000 different schools of thought. But instead we have one, and this is the school of the Holy Prophet. This is the school of Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is the school of Al-Husain, the school of Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. Were it not for the stand of Al-Husain and the actions of Zainab, no Islam would remain today.
زمین کربلا دادی شکستم جوانان یک به یک بردی ز دستم زمین کربلا فصل بهار است زفون نوجوانان لاله زار زمین کربلا با حیله بازی عجب کردی و تو مهمان نوازی زمین کربلا با حیله بازی عجب کردی و تو مهمان نوازی زمین کربلا با این اراده تو مهمان میکوشی عادت که داده زمین کربلا رنجیدم از تو ز بس کیفی وفایی دیدم از تو زمین کربلا خوش با صفایی به بالین